Section 3.1, Statements and Logical Connectives. History, the Greeks. Aristotle, the ancient Greeks were the first people to look at the way humans think and draw conclusions. Aristotle is called the father of logic. This logic has been taught and studied for more than 2,000 years. Mathematicians Gottfried Leibniz believed that all mathematical and scientific concepts could be derived from logic. He was the first to seriously study symbolic logic. In this type of logic, symbols, usually letters, represent written statements. George Boole is said to be the founder of symbolic logic because he had such an impressive work in this area. Charles Dodson, better known as Lewis Carroll, incorporated many interesting ideas from logic in his books. Logic in the English language. So in logic, we use connectives, and these are words such as and, or, if, then, if and only if. Exclusive or is one or the other or both can happen. One or the other can happen, but not both. The inclusive or, which is generally what we use in this course, one or the other or both can happen. A statement is a sentence that can be judged true or false. Labeling a statement true or false is called assigning a truth value to the statement. Simple statements, a sentence that conveys only one idea and can be assigned a truth value. Compound statements are sentences that combine two or more simple statements and can be assigned a truth value. The negation of a statement is to change the statement to its opposite meaning. The negation of a false statement is always true. The negation of a true statement is always false. Quantifiers, words such as all, none, some, etc. We have to be careful when we're negating statements that include quantifiers. So this is a helpful little table here to show you how we're going to do these. So all are, when we negate it, we're going to go to some are not. If it's none are, it's going to go to some are, none are, some are not, we'll go to all are. And this little picture here is helpful. Remember, when you're negating, think whether the truth value of the original statement is true or false. When you negate it, the negated statement must have the opposite truth value. Let's try a couple examples. Some books are novels. We want to negate this. So the first question we say to ourselves is this a true statement or is this a false statement? Okay, so it means at least one. So we know that this is going to be a true statement. And so the negation of this is going to have to be false. And so the negation of this is the same thing as some are. It's the same thing as saying at least one book is a novel. So the negation of this is going to be no books are novels, which is a false statement. Try this one. All coins have the image of George Washington. Now, this statement is false. So when we write the negation, we want the statement to be true. And this is a false statement since a penny has an image of George Washington on it. So in the negation, some coins do not have the image of George Washington. This is a true statement. So remember, all are went to some are not or do not have. Statements that consist of two or more simple statements are called compound statements, and connectives are often used to join the two simple statements, words like and, or, if, then, if, and only if. Negation, we're going to use this symbol that you see right here, which is called a tilde, and it's read as not. So the negation of P, we're going to use letters to represent the simple statements, is going to be written as not P. This symbol here is an upside down V, is a symbol for a conjunction, and it's read as the word and. The conjunction of P and Q is as shown here. In other words can be used to express a conjunction, and they are but, however, nonetheless. Write a conjunction. Write the following conjunction in symbolic form. Kanye West is not on tour, but Kanye West is recording a new CD. So the first thing that you do in a problem like this is assign letters or to represent the simple statement. So T will represent Kanye West is on tour. We always write the simple statements in the assignment here as non-negated. And R is going to be Kanye West is recording a new CD. And if we look at the original sentence, compound statement, Kanye West is not on tour, that's going to be the negation of T. But is an and, so it's a conjunction, and then it's going to be followed by the simple statement of R. A disjunction is an or statement, and this is represented here. The symbol looks like a V. And in this book, we're going to be using the inclusive, so it's going to be one or the other or both. And just to aside for a second, a conjunction is like the intersection, a disjunction is like the union that we studied in sets. So the disjunction of P and Q is written this way. So let's write a disjunction. So Camilla will take chemistry as P, Camilla will take French as Q, and we want to write this sentence in symbolic form. Camilla will take chemistry or Camilla will take French. And we can write that simply like this, P, disjunction, or Q. Write this sentence, Camilla will not take chemistry or Camilla will not take French. So both of the simple statements now are negated, and it's still a disjunction. When a compound statement contains more than one connective, a comma can be used to indicate which simple statements are grouped together. When we write compound statements symbolically, the simple statements on the same side of the comma are grouped together in parentheses. And here's how we're going to show you how the commas are used. So here's our three simple statements. P is dinner includes soup. Q is dinner includes salad. R, dinner includes the vegetable of the day. And we want to write this compound statement in symbolic form. Dinner includes soup, notice the comma, and salad or vegetable of the day. So we're going to be grouping the second portion in parentheses. So we're going to start with a P, and then we have a conjunction, and then we're going to have parentheses, salad, which is Q, or vegetable of the day, which is R. And again, notice how the comma showed us to set off this portion here in parentheses. There's a little bit different one. Dinner includes soup and salad, comma, or vegetable of the day. So we have a conjunction in the parentheses, and then we have a disjunction outside of the parentheses. Let's see, we're going to change now the symbolic form into a sentence. So P is the house is for sale, and Q is we can afford to buy the house. We want to write the symbolic statement in words. So it's a conjunction, the house is for sale, and we cannot afford to buy it. Let's try another one. Both simple statements are negated. The house is not for sale, or we cannot afford to buy it. And finally, this time we have a negation outside of the parentheses. So we're going to be negating the entire sentence. So we're going to start the sentence with it is not true that, or it is false that, and then we're going to write what's inside there. The house is for sale and we can afford it. So it is false that the house is for sale and we can afford it, or it could also be written as it is not true that the house is for sale and we can afford to buy the house. The conditional is symbolized with an arrow pointing to the right, and it's read as if then. The antecedent is the portion of the statement that becomes before the arrow, and the consequent is the part that follows the arrow. And it's written like this, P, arrow Q. If P, then Q. And we want to write this simple statement, this compound statement rather, symbolically with these two simple statements. The portrait is a pastel is P, the portrait is by Beth Anderson is Q. So if the portrait is a pastel, which is P, then the portrait is by Beth Anderson. So that's simply going to be P, arrow Q. Try this one. If the portrait is by Beth Anderson, then the portrait is not a pastel. So we see the second simple statement is negated. So this is going to be Q, arrow, not P. And another one, it is false that. Now again, that tells us we're going to have some parentheses here. If the portrait is by Beth Anderson, then the portrait is a pastel. So we're going to have the negation outside the parentheses. Then we have the simple statement Q, arrow P. If Q, then P, and it's negated, the entire compound statement. The biconditional is represented or symbolized by a double-sided arrow, and it's read as if and only if. And we write it like this, P, if and only if Q. So we want to write this symbolic statement in words, and they've given us two simple statements. Alex plays goalie on the lacrosse team. Q, the Huskies win the Champions Cup. So it's going to be if Alex plays goalie on the lacrosse team, if and only if the Huskies win the Champions Cup. Let's try another one. Now we've got Q coming first, and then we've got a negation of P. So Alex plays goalie on the lacrosse team, if and only if the Huskies do not win the Champions Cup. I'm sorry, I didn't turn it around. The Huskies win the Champions Cup if and only if Alex does not play goalie. I apologize, I reversed those statements. And finally, we've got a negation outside. So it is not true that, or it is false that, Alex plays goalie on the lacrosse team if and only if the Huskies do not win the Champions Cup. And here's a summary of the logical connectives that we learned in this section: the negation, the conjunction, the disjunction, the conditional, and the biconditional. Let's do a few more examples. Is the statement simple or compound? Derek's wife loves to exercise by running. This is a simple statement. Is the following statement simple or compound? If you score lower than 60, then you did not pass the exam. This is a compound statement. What kind of a statement is it? If, then, so this is a conditional statement. What symbol do we use to represent a conditional statement? And we use the arrow.